It's 3 a.m. You're in a helium headspace. It's Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. The Shawshank Redemption premiered today in 1994, directed by Frank Darabont. It starred Morgan Freeman, Clancy Brown, Jeffrey DeMunn, James Whitmore, and Tim Robbins, who as prisoner Andy Dufresne says, "I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living or get busy dying." It made less than $1 million its opening weekend and has since accumulated $29.5 million. Today in 1894 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Edward Estlin Cummings was born, a man who treated the English language less like a rule book and more like a field to run barefoot through. E. Cummings wrote as though grammar were a suggestion, not a commandment. His poems bend and leap across the page, breaking lines and format, yet always landing with a clarity that cuts straight to the heart. He fought in World War I, was imprisoned in France for suspected espionage, painted and wrote plays, and somehow managed to make even rebellion sound tender. To him, poetry wasn't a fortress of meaning, it was a living thing, breathing, mischievous. "It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are," he once said. And he lived that truth, if only to show others it could be done. Today, only 61 years ago, the Nobel Committee announced Martin Luther King Jr. as its Peace Prize laureate, recognizing a 35-year-old Baptist minister who had turned disciplined nonviolence into a strategic engine of civic change. The choice validated sit-ins, boycotts, freedom rides, and the March on Washington as more than protests. They were a method for converting moral claim into written law. King accepted not as a victor, but as a representative of a movement facing bombings, arrests, backlash, and indifference. And he used the platform to argue that ends and means must match. He tied civil rights to global decolonization and poverty, insisting that peace requires jobs, housing, and dignity, not just quiet streets. Today in 1644, William Penn was born in London, a man whose life became an argument for freedom of conscience. As a Quaker in an age when faith could be fatal, Penn spent time in prison for refusing to conform, yet never surrendered his conviction that governance should serve peace, not punishment. His holy experiment in Pennsylvania was built on the radical belief that diversity need not destroy unity, that a colony could thrive through tolerance, fair dealing with indigenous peoples, and separation of church and state. Penn's ideas seeded much of what would later define American democracy, though his own life was a tangle of debts, disputes, and dissolution. Still, his enduring vision was simple, that the soul was not property of the state, and no one need bow to another's creed to live in peace. Today in 1696, Samuel Johnson was born in Guilford, Connecticut colony, a man who would grow into one of early America's most quietly influential thinkers. He was a philosopher-theologian shaped by the Enlightenment, yet deeply grounded in Christian moral tradition. Johnson sought to reconcile reason and revelation at a time when the colonies still leaned toward strict Puritan orthodoxy. He studied at Yale, where he later taught, and became a conduit for Enlightenment ideas from Europe, importing Locke, Berkeley, and Newton into the intellectual bloodstream of the New World. In 1754, he became the first president of King's College in New York, what we now know as Columbia University, where he helped lay the foundations for liberal education in America. To him, knowledge and goodness were not rival pursuits, but allies in building a more rational and humane society. Samuel Johnson once said, "Virtue consists not in speculation, but in practice, not in thinking well, but in doing well." Thomas Luckmann was born today in 1927 in what is now Slovenia, and he went on to reshape how we think about reality itself, not as a fixed structure, but as a living product of human communication. Working alongside Peter Berger, Luckmann co-authored The Social Construction of Reality, a cornerstone of modern sociology that argued our shared world is built through language, symbols, and social interaction. Drawing on phenomenology, he showed how meaning emerges from daily life, the ordinary customs and institutions that people build together until they seem permanent. Luckmann wasn't chasing grand theories, he was pointing out that every system, from religion to bureaucracy, begins as someone's idea. His brilliance lay in revealing how fragile and human the foundations of reality really are. Thomas Luckmann once said, "Religion is the audacious attempt to conceive of the entire universe as humanly significant." And modernization transforms religion from a public to a private affair. Masaoka Shiki was born today in 1867 in Matsuyama, Japan, and went on to rebuild Japan's short-form poetry by treating haiku and tanka as modern literature and insisting on seisai, sketch from life, observe with clarity, not mystique. A fearless critic, prolific journalist, and editor, he argued these short poetic forms could hold everyday modernity, then proved it while bedridden with tuberculosis, writing about bells, persimmons, moonlight, and medicine with the same analytical observer's eye. Masaoka Shiki once wrote, "After killing a spider, how lonely I feel in the cold of night." Ralph Lauren was born today in 1939 in the Bronx to Jewish immigrant parents who struggled to make ends meet. He shared a small room with his brothers and learned early how much presentation could shape perception. With no design training and little money, he started selling neckties out of a single drawer in 1967, ties that were wider, bolder, and more confident than what anyone else was selling. Bloomingdale's picked them up, and soon Lauren built a fashion world around the same confidence. Polo shirts, tailored suits, even home goods, all suggesting a life of leisure he had never lived but could perfectly imagine. He did not invent American luxury, he reframed it, turning aspiration itself into the product. His genius wasn't fabric or fit, it was narrative. Ralph Lauren didn't sell clothes to the rich, he sold the idea that anyone could look like they belonged there. He once said, "I didn't have a vision as in, this is where I'm going. I had a vision as in, this is what I love to do." In honor of E. Cummings' birthday, here's a poem by the man. "I like my body when it is with your body. It is so quite a new thing. Muscles better and nerves more. I like your body. I like what it does. I like its hows. I like to feel the spine of your body and its bones. The trembling firm smoothness in which I will again and again and again kiss. I like kissing this and that of you. I like slowly stroking the shocking fuzz of your electric fur and what is it comes over parting flesh and eyes, big love crumbs. And possibly I like the thrill of, under me, you, quite so new." And those are some of the things we humans have done over the years. Do good work, smile more, follow our work.